Hey everybody, I'm Sierra.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of your original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved mysteries.
Okay, couple things off top.
Couple things.
Once again, I have a head cold.
Yeah.
So if I sound...
This was intentional.
This was intentional. I went rock hounding last week, and I was out, and it was cold and rainy and windy.
Sierra became 41, and she said, I gotta find rocks.
I gotta go find some rocks. And then it went from being like cold, wet, and windy to 100 degrees in a matter of...
It's not quite. It's only
Okay.
90.
90s.
But it is going to hit 100
It's going to hit the
weekend.
hundreds. I just think my body is like, which way are we going? Make up your mind. It's like,
Maybe.
whoa. It doesn't know what it's doing. And so I woke up.
That was kind of cool how you did it. You did it. If you guys thought it was a drive-by, it's because it was. She did this whoosh thing by the microphone. It was impressive.
Thank
I
you.
liked it.
I'm a professional podcaster.
Are you professional?
Yeah, who shows up even when I'm sick.
Right. All right, I got two things I'm excited about.
Okay.
All right. First, when it comes to this podcast, I got a week off.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad did one with you while your parents were in town. He watched an episode and he did it. And
Yep.
I'm excited because that is one episode of Unsolved Mysteries I never have to watch. And I won't watch it. I'm going to skip right over that
But will
episode.
you listen to the recap episode?
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Second thing I'm really excited about. Baseball is back.
We're back, baby.
Next Thursday, which by the time this come out, we're already going to be in the season. Next Thursday, opening day. I think opening day should be a national holiday.
Okay, pause.
If you want my honest
real
opinion.
quick. I'm going to fix your mic because it's driving me crazy.
What's wrong with my mic?
Everyone BRB. Okay, we'll see if the people... I fixed Ben's microphone because
I'm not a professional.
Ben is just hoping to do enough little things wrong and people are like, he just kind of fades away into obscurity.
I'm hoping the public fires me. That's what I'm hoping.
So I haven't even told you this, but I've got some more good news for you. I've actually reached out to like 3 or 4 of my favorite female podcast friends who we've all talked about unsolved mysteries with. And between now and CrimeCon, life is going to be really busy. So I'm actually going to try to sit down with them over the next couple of weeks. And there's going to be a sprinkling of guest spots where you're not going to be involved in it. And Kylie and Holly and Jules are going to come on one at a time because it is fun to talk to people.
Other than me.
No, I do love talking to you. Just with different perspectives. Now, I would say it was interesting because my dad is very much he's obviously older than us.
He's an old man, is what you're saying. That's what Sierra tried to say.
Unsolved Mysteries, he was an adult when Unsolved Mysteries came on. So he has a different perspective on it. But he cried during the episode that I recorded. I don't know if I was supposed to tell that to everybody, but now it's out.
It's out there now.
He gets very emotional about true crime. It breaks his heart. So that's why he doesn't watch it.
Fair.
So it is interesting to get just kind of, and to be able to then, I talked to him about Bigfoot and stuff, things that people already know both of our viewpoints on.
He's probably seen Bigfoot in the woods.
He hasn't. Or maybe he has.
I don't know.
But he does have a Bigfoot story that he shares at the end of next week's episode. So right. I have a head cold and I'm doped up on all kinds of
I know, but okay.
medication.
I tried, this is the world that Sierra lives in of true crime. And I listened to my podcast the other day. Not this podcast, but my podcast called Legends of the Old West. And he did a 2-part series on the Bloody Benders. And it's about Old West stuff, but it's also about murderers. And I thought I was excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to tell Sierra about this. She's going to be so excited because my podcast tied into Sierra's world of true crime. I got, 15 seconds into it? And Sierra goes, yeah, I know. I've heard of it. I already know it.
That's not how you phrased it. You said, had you heard of the Bloody Benders? And I said, I think so.
No, you said, I don't think so.
Maybe tell me a little bit about it. And you said like a few seconds into your thing. And I said,
two sentences in, and she already knew
does the story go like this? Da, 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 da. And you were like, yes. And I was like, yes, I have heard about it.
Ruined it.
And then but that's the best part is like, now we can have a conversation about it. And you're like, no, I didn't want to talk to you about it. I just wanted to tell you about it.
I thought I was sharing something new.
It is a crazy story. If you have not heard about the Bloody Benders, it's a crazy story.
It is wild.
Yeah. We are recapping What Are We Doing? Season 4, episode 14.
I actually have no idea.
We have 3 stories with you tonight. And I think I'm going to start off with our lost love story. And then you can go and then I will go.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay.
Got it. Nailed it.
Okay. So I've got a story of a young girl named Helen Rose. So Helen Rose was the youngest daughter of 7 children. That's a lot of children.
I'm the youngest of 7.
I know you are. Bless your mom's heart. She and her siblings spent the winter months at a government boarding school, but during the summer, they came home to their parents' log cabin in the Ojibwe. I will probably mess that up again, but
I think we all will.
The Ojibwe Reservation in September 1932. The children prepared to return to school even though their mother was gravely ill. A month later, the children's father, Archie, visited them at school, telling them that their mother had passed away. And by 1941, Helen was 17 years old and became interested in joining the Canadian Army for World War II after learning about the war in class. She actually dropped out of high school, joined the Canadian Air Force, but then the Canadian Air Force discovered that she was technically under 18 years old. So they tell her that she needs her father's permission to join the Air Force. So in July of 1941, Helen visits her father asking him to sign papers so that she could join the Air Force. He refuses to sign the paperwork, fearing that she would die in another country. So I will say, I did a little bit of just kind of some research on this. The Ojibwe traditions around like burial and death and everything there is some huge interconnections in family and ceremonies around that.
Okay.
So I don't know if his opposition was necessarily about her fighting in a war. I mean, I'm sure most parents have concerns about that.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the biggest concern was that she would pass away in another country and her body might not be able to return to her native land.
They couldn't go through their burial process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Because even we'll find out later, and they honor their families through yearly gatherings at different sites of where their families are buried. So Helen left angry and said that she would have somebody else sign the papers, and that since he had refused to sign the papers, he would never see her again. She stays the night with her aunt. She tells all of her family, her aunts, her siblings, I'm never coming home. And the next day, she leaves.
I'll give her this. She stuck to her word.
This woman is
stubborn.
She dug in her heels. So 2 years later, she does return to the area briefly and runs into her brother-in-law at a little county grocery store, just 15 miles from the reservation. He says, oh my gosh, your dad is right across the street. Stay here and I'm going to go get him. And so you guys can see each other. However, by the time he leaves and comes back, because he's interviewed, the brother-in-law's interviewed. He is an old man by this time. He's interviewed and he's by the time he got back, she gone. And he's I don't know if she was here. Now she's not. And she vanishes once again.
She stuck to her guns, I guess.
So sadly, her father, Archie, passes away in 1960 without ever having like kind of healed this, making peace with this relationship.
That breaks my heart as a dad. Going
Yes.
that long without seeing
Yeah, I can
my
imagine.
child, that would be really hard.
And so she is actually the youngest of 7. So her siblings are still searching for her to this day. And so we kind of get some information and some pictures, and that's kind of where Unsolved Mystery leaves us.
All right, give us our update.
All right, update. Solved. Thanks to a viewer tip, Helen Rose was found living in Westchester, New York, where she had actually lived since 1986. Her daughter and granddaughter were also put in contact with Helen's siblings and made an arrangements for a reunion. This reunion was not videotaped. I couldn't find anything of it. Yeah. Her siblings have since passed away. It seems like at least the last update I could find is she was the only one left alive, but that she did remain in close contact with them until they passed away. So it seems like some sort of bridge was healed or.
She did.
Yeah.
That's good.
So there you go.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this. This story I'm going to mute myself because if not, we'll never get through it because I have a lot of opinions on this man.
You have opinions?
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked by that statement.
I think you're being sarcastic.
I am. I usually am.
All right, take it away, love.
Okay, we are going to get the story of Larry and Debbie Race. It's Larry's story, but it's about his wife, Debbie. So we get told this is what do they call it? Final appeal. Okay. Robert Stack comes on. He says, listen, this is what we're going to find out. This man was technically convicted for the murder of his wife in 1982. And he has gone through the last 8 years of appeals, 5 different post-trial reviews, and everything's been shut down. So his last ditch effort is to throw the Hail Mary to Unsolved Mysteries, and Unsolved Mysteries took it. So this is what we're going to. So we get interviewed with Larry. Larry is telling us all this stuff. And Larry pretty much says, they start out by telling, Larry believes that the jury was prejudiced towards him because, I can't make this up, because the people found out he had affairs. And not just like one.
Because he was a full-fledged adulteress.
Yeah.
Which is also what we like to call motive.
Well, so I'm listening to this. He is upset because this got brought up, and he thinks because the jury heard that he'd had multiple affairs on his wife of 14 years, that they were prejudiced to convict him. I'm like, and he's mad that was allowed in court.
We're going to find out that these affairs happened years ago, early on in their marriage.
No, there was supposedly an affair going on like the weekend before this happened.
Like the morning of. Like it was imminent. The affair was currently happening when tragedy befell his wife. So that is what we call motive, Larry.
Yeah. That's what I was like, of course that was allowed. Because that establishes the case that there is possible motive. You're crazy, dude. The best part is they're interviewing him. He says, dude, you got to listen. The guy talks weird. I shouldn't say that, but
he clearly is a narcissist. This man thinks that the more he talks, the more we're going to like buy what he's selling.
Into it.
Yeah.
He says, did I have multiple affairs? Yes, I did. But am I sorry for that? The best part is he says, am I sorry for that? He pauses.
The pause that
it is like this awkward pause.
It was, I thought for a second, he's going to say no.
I thought he was not going to answer it. I'm like, dude, you're the one that asked the question.
You took us down this road.
Yeah. You took as Brian Regan says, you took the barn out. We're going to ride this horse. No, you took the horse out of the barn, and we're going to ride this horse and see where it goes. Anyways.
Typical narcissist that he's like, he backed himself into a corner where he has to admit that he did something wrong. And it's like in the internal battle that he's having, like, crap, if I say that I don't regret the affairs, then I'm the problem. But also,
Well,
if I say I
then it
do regret
establishes a
the
motive.
affairs, then I establish that I'm not a good husband. Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, they tell us they've been married 14 years. They had 3 kids. She dedicated her life to her kids, and Larry was big into boating and scuba diving. And also, I'm sorry, I should have said, one of the reasons that Unsolved Mysteries picked up this story is because his kids and even his in-laws, Debbie's parents, don't believe Larry killed. That we're going to find out. Everyone thinks that this was an accident, and I'm going to tell you why. And this is a wild story. Okay, May 11th, 1982, they were celebrating their 14th wedding anniversary. They go out to dinner. Yeah, and here, bless this woman's heart, because here she is. She knows about him. She's trying to work through him. I'm like, you're a good person, you know. I mean, because
You are a better woman, than I am. Because she either had the patience of Job or the heart of a saint, where maybe she truly believed in the institution of marriage and family, and that was so important to her that
keep
she
her
was
family together
willing
for
to
her
keep
kids.
her. Yeah, 100%. And it breaks my heart because he took advantage of that.
So May 11th, they're celebrating their 14th wedding anniversary, and they go out to dinner, and then they take out his boat called the Jenny Lee. Okay, out on Lake Superior. I'm sorry, I didn't even say we're in Minnesota here, off Lake Superior. Okay, and I wrote this quote down because it's awesome, and not awesome. This will show you like how this guy is. He says, as he's talking about what they're doing that night, he says, I wanted to stop what I was doing. I was thinking, maybe this is the chance. I have a wonderful woman here. There's nothing wrong with her. And I want to take an about face. Okay. If you describe your spouse as there's nothing wrong with them, you don't love them. You just don't. I'm sorry. If I'm looking.
And you're only saying to us, dude, what you think we want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was baffled by that. So they take the Jenny Lee out. They're out there. They're listening to tapes. He says, again, this story is told by Larry. He says they're about a mile offshore. They're hanging out. And all of a sudden, so it's dark out. It's around 9 p.m. All of a sudden, he says his wife sees water on the ground in the boat. She starts freaking out because I guess the Jenny Lee had problems like a year prior. And so it's taking in water. He's trying to figure it out. He pulls off the cover for the engine and says that it's spraying water into the boat. He shuts the engine off. He says he does a bunch of things. He like drops the alternator, whatever. I don't know exactly everything, but he gets the water to stop coming in, being sprayed in from the engine. So he works on it, tries to fix it. He says they worked together, tried to fix it, gets it going. And then he says, all right, tells his wife, hey, can you try to start it? She tries to start it. The boat won't start. So he goes.
And this whole time he's painting her that she's hysterical. Even during like, the hysteria is growing, but she never calms down.
She doesn't really calm. At this point, she's kind of calm. To this point, again, according to Larry.
According to Larry, this woman could not handle herself in the situation.
Then he goes and says he tries to start it. He's like, well, maybe she couldn't do it right. Maybe she was doing something wrong. He tries to start it, and all of a sudden there is a massive loud sound and a whooshing. He says like a whooshing and gushing sound from the engine. She is hysterical, just starts freaking out. So she's saying, we got to get off this thing. So he grabs a life raft, okay? And he has his scuba tank and his scuba gear on his boat. And he starts trying to fill up this life raft with the scuba tank. And she's freaking out. She's like, it's not taking in air. And he looks and he says there's cuts on the bottom of this life raft. So he just takes it and he yeets it into the lake. And he says, but fortunately, I had a second. I had a second life raft. So he grabs that one. He starts filling it up. And this one, he says, it takes air. Everything's good. He goes, so he grabs, she has a life vest on.
They have life vests on. And this is, according to him.
She has a life vest
on. Yes, she has a life vest on. And according to him, this is a 2-person raft. But
he
we
says,
are going to Jack and Rose this situation very quickly.
He says, even though it's a 2-person, only 1 person can fit, because by the time she gets in and they put her purse and their gear into the life raft.
Because that's the most important thing.
I know. None of this makes sense. After they put all that stuff in it can only fit 1. So he says, listen, that's fine. I'm going to put on my wetsuit and I'm a good swimmer and I'm going to tow you to the shore. If anyone's ever swam a mile, good luck. It can be done. It's tough. Swimming is no joke.
Swimming's no joke. And this lake is the size of
it's massive.
It's unfathomable how big it is. It's vast.
It's
the biggest lake in the world, isn't it?
It's the biggest clear water lake.
Yeah.
And
at least night, it's pitch black, and the water is frigid cold.
Well, this water never really gets above 50-something degrees. And
so
it's
swimming
May.
a mile in that kind of conditions.
Well, and it's May. At this time, I think they said the water was 38 degrees or 40 degrees.
But that's only if you know what direction you're also going in. You have no sense of
I know. None of this story makes sense. So I just loved it. In the reenactment, she's like, you can do it, Larry. I'm like, yeah, I doubt she was probably saying that. She's probably freaking out. Anyway, so he gets her in the raft. He gets down his...
I love that he paints himself as the savior in this story.
Yeah. He gets his wetsuit on. He hops in the water. He starts towing her, all right? Starts pulling her along. He says he gets really tired and he's getting really cold because the water is freezing. It's Maytime. It has not warmed up. He says, I have to get in the raft. So he tries to get in. It takes in some water. She freaks out and says, absolutely not. Do not get in this thing.
He makes her out to be the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he then says, I saw lights off in the distance. And he says, I'm going to swim towards those lights and get help. And she's going to float towards the bank. And so one of us is going to get to help. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but okay. So he ditches his wife, swims to these lights. Guess what the lights were? They were his own boat. The
boat is still afloat.
Yes.
And that was even during the story, no one talks that the boat is sinking.
No. No. So he hops onto the boat, tries to start it, and guess what? It starts. Magic. So, I'm sorry, I gotta find where
I just love the best part. He's made it back, and then it's like, okay, great. You made it back to the boat. It starts. Go find your wife.
So he says he tries to find...
He couldn't have swam that far.
Clearly not. If you clearly didn't get too far past your boat, if you could try and turn around and swim right back to it.
Yeah.
So he gets there, he starts shooting flares, he starts searching for his wife. He can't find her, so then he goes to the Coast Guard.
And this woman who's hysterical never hollers out when she sees flares? No one radios for anybody?
You're asking me questions like I know.
I'm just bringing up points that I feel... I feel bad for her kid, the children, and her parents.
Absolutely.
Because the harder truth is that this man murdered this woman.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just tunnel vision into that.
I am fathom that you just ditched your wife in the middle of a lake at night.
And I get hysteria can sometimes cause people to make irrational decisions, but hysteria doesn't tend to last for long periods of time. And you're telling me that your wife would not let you on the boat with you when she put up with your affairs for 14 years?
And I'm like,
no, my guy, no. Sit down and shut up.
And you were able to swim right back to your own boat.
Exactly.
And I understand.
And they couldn't find her?
I understand in water, in the dark, you can probably get disoriented.
Yes.
But you clearly didn't make it that far.
Those flares light up quite a bit.
So he goes to the Coast Guard. They go around. They start looking. They don't find her. The next day, her body is found on the shore, and she is dead. And she's dead. She didn't drown.
She hasn't drowned because she had a life vest on.
She died from hypothermia.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. Awful.
Yes, awful.
So the DA, they look at it, everything, and they charge him with murder. In his trial, he ends up not taking the stand in his own defense. He said his attorneys advised him not to, so he didn't. And he just thinks, oh, I made a mistake.
Every narcissist ever thinks that they could have won their court case, their trial, if they had just taken a stand. Because here's the thing. So far in this man's life, everyone is believing the BS that he is selling. Yeah. He's been able to convince most people that are closest
except for the courts.
Yeah. But his children and his in-laws that he is innocent.
So of course, he gets new attorneys. They're trying to reopen the case and that. Then we get the prosecutor, and he gets interviewed. He's actually my favorite person in this thing. He gets there. The first thing he says, he goes, I don't even know why you guys are doing this. This is not a story for Unsolved Mysteries. This guy killed his wife. Pretty much like he's blatant, and you can tell he's pissed. I think he's not pissed at Unsolved Mysteries. I think he's pissed that Larry got Unsolved Mysteries to take his story.
I'm sure as a prosecutor, you're like, there is 100 other cases on my desk right now that you guys could have spent your money and resources to. But once again, this man that could probably sell a fish to a fisherman. I don't know, like the dumbest thing. He can talk circles around everybody, right? And so he's like, almost like, you guys got duped. This is a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah, because I'm sure there in Minnesota, there is true unsolved mysteries, unsolved murders that they could cover and hopefully help him solve. Because he's like, this is closed exactly and done case. Appeal.
The guy was having multiple affairs, had an affair on his wife. His wife wound up dead, and then he wanted out because he needed a new heart transplant.
So we get his new attorneys. And they say, well, listen, this is what he shouldn't have been convicted because one, they said that he had a $108,000 life insurance policy, but some of that was for the mortgage. And, even though he was going to get that, even though now he's not going to get it because he was convicted of murder. And then they say, oh, and a mechanic looked at the boat and they did find that it had a bad starter. So it would have done intermittent starting. So that part of his story is true, where it might have not started. And then when he went back to the boat, it would have started. And
I don't think anyone's disputing that maybe the boat had problems that night.
Here's the thing. The prosecutor comes on and goes, yeah, the mechanic did come forth, but he didn't look at that boat for 2 years later. Oh. It's like, that's not credible. I'm like,
yeah,
and
all right.
The courts found it not credible.
That's what we call a moo point.
It's like, a car is not the same 2 years later. You can't say something that's wrong with a car today is how the car was.
The battery was dead.
Yeah, it has a bad battery.
It has a bad battery, yeah.
So, the other big dispute is the 2 life rafts. And I at first I was confused, but now it makes sense. Because the prosecutor says, there was only 1 life raft that we found. And the defense is saying, no, there was 2. We have this police officer that supposedly questioned him and was asking him about things. And Larry said, I have 2 life rafts. So that's got to be credible, right? If Larry said it, then it's what's credible, right? If Larry said it to a stranger, we should count that. Okay, I'm adding some sarcasm in there, but, and because here's the thing. The 1 life raft they did find, guess what happened to it? It had been slashed.
You guys, they dropped, this should have been end of story for Unsolved Mysteries. right here. This is all you need to know, what Ben is about to tell you.
It had been slashed 5 times. And this life raft had 2 air chambers. So if one gets punctured, part of it still stays afloat. I'm going to guess that you could still then use it. The whole design is that if that goes down, you still have this other air chamber to hold on to and use as a flotation device. Both air chambers had been slashed. And it said not just like punctured, cut with a knife. And the defense is like, well, there was only one knife on board and it didn't match the cut marks. I'm like, oh, so Larry couldn't have gone like this and opened his hand and dropped the knife at the bottom of a massive lake?
Massive lake, exactly.
I'm like, that's your defense on the slash marks? And Larry says, well, no, that was the first one I threw out. I'm like, really? Okay.
I love
Even
that he
though
concocted a story where he said the first life raft, for some reason, had slashes in it, so he chucked it out, thinking preemptively that if someone ever found it, he could say, oh, that was the first one. Like, that is insane.
But the life raft that did have air never showed up. Never showed up. Only one was found.
Yeah.
The one that had been slashed.
Yeah. And wasn't it slashed from underneath?
Underneath. And that was the other. The prosecution says, and it had been slashed with air in it.
And I will say, this man took his scuba gear out with him at night.
So I'm going to guess he always had a scuba gear on his boat.
You're not usually, because you got to get your air tanks and stuff filled up. It's not something that you keep with you all the time.
I don't own a boat and scuba gear, so I have no idea. Either way, I'll at least give you that maybe you just always have your scuba gear on your boat. But the prosecutor says, listen, it had air in it because for it to have been cut, there was no cut marks on the top. If it had no air, you would have cut both sides. Fair? Okay. So, I mean, this is a pretty slam dunk case.
So they're theorizing that he put her on that raft after staging some sort of accident on the boat. And then
sent her out,
put his scuba gear on,
and went and slashed her.
Like literally Jaws 101 this, and like do. Yeah. Do. Went underneath the water in his scuba gear without her knowledge of thinking she was in danger. Went up underneath the boat and slashed it multiple times so that she was left out in dark, cold, pitch black water.
And died from hypothermia.
While then he swam back. Her never knowing the entire time that he had swam underneath that life raft.
Yeah. And the defense says, they bring on he goes, no, what you said Larry did, he would have had to have been superhuman to do that. I'm like, why?
Why? That actually seems very plausible.
And then they also bring 2 other things. That her body showed up 7 miles from where she should have been. But the prosecutor says, yeah, but we actually never knew where they were.
That was just based on where he said they were.
Exactly. It was based on where he said they were, he goes, we actually have no idea where they were on the lake when this happened. And then also the skin lividity. Her blood pooled on her back. And they said if she died from hypothermia, her blood should have pooled at her feet. And the prosecutor said, no, because she had a life vest that kept her on her back.
Yeah.
It was designed.
Are designed to keep people
floating on their back.
You're not floating straight up and down like you might think.
You float on your back.
You float on your back, yeah, in kind of more of a resting position.
Plus, you're in freezing cold water.
So your blood is moving very slow.
Anyways, so even though with all this he was convicted and he was sentenced to life in prison, but with the possibility of parole. So. All right. And then my last quote is from Larry. He says, he's just so angry that the prosecutor was able to convince 12 jury members that this happened without any facts. Because technically they're saying this is all circumstantial. She died from hypothermia, but they're saying that it could have been an accident. And okay. I still think he brought forth a pretty good case.
It could have been an accident, but it could have also been murder.
But you're also an adulterer who has life insurance on your wife.
Mm-hmm. And had your scuba
her raft that she's
and her
on
raft was slashed open.
Slashed and left. And you said you couldn't find her. But yet you could find your own boat back.
Mm-hmm. You also left your wife in the middle of a lake.
You also left her in the middle of a lake.
You didn't say there's lights over there. I'm going to tow you that way. Direction.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. I know. So that's where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us.
Okay. What are updates?
I mean, in my opinion, this case is solved. This case was solved when he was convicted.
He's been convicted. Was it overturned?
It was never overturned.
Appeal? Okay.
But he was paroled after 22 years.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
But
I mean, I understand our justice system is what it is, and in all of its, whatever. People get paroled, that there's a reason behind that. I just hate it.
I looked for him. I looked pretty hard to find out where he was, what he was doing, anything, if he had any presence. I even got on Facebook, which I haven't in a long time.
His kids or anything?
I didn't look for his kids. I'll be honest. I wanted to leave that.
I just meant to see if you could find.
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't find him. And Larry Race is a pretty common name.
Well, Larry Race, if you're listening to this and you murdered your wife, I think you are a garbage human being. Here's the thing.
Technically, according to the United States,
you were convicted murderer.
According to the state of Minnesota, you did. Yeah. You had your day in court. Mm-hmm. And not just that, you had your appeals.
And I'll tell you what, the prosecution not only convinced 12 jury members, it also convinced these two podcasters that you're a murderer, an adulteress, and a loser.
And you had 8 years, and you brought appeal after appeal after appeal.
Yeah, you did.
And judge after judge saw it and still said, nah.
No,
and held up your conviction.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There are people that are wrongfully convicted, and you are not one of them, my guy, and you wasted time, money, and resources on appeals that should have been used for the correct reasons. This is why I can't be a judge, because I would have heard the story and I would have said, thank you so much, 12 jury members. I appreciate your thoughts. But this man, straight to jail for life. Okay, I had never heard about the story of Jeannie Tovery. Have you? Had you before this?
No, I never heard of this.
And it feels a little
close to home.
Yeah, if you guys have been living under a rock for a while, Tucson, Arizona recently has been a little bit under the spotlight for the Nancy Guthrie case.
It's fading though. You notice that?
Yeah, but it does. It makes me.
I would say it's only fading because there's nothing new to come.
There's nothing new. Yeah.
When something new comes forward, it will be front headline news.
The newest thing that's come out is that now they are speculating that there is a possibility this was targeted, but also that the general public, and I'm going to guess probably older or single women at home, are at risk that this person could strike again, which is something you and I actually talked about.
Yeah.
You and I talked one night, and maybe that's how we should end the podcast, is kind of talking about the conversation we had around that. So I'll move it on till later. But just before 1 a.m. on April 1st, 1988, the police respond to a burglar alarm in an exclusive gated community in the Phoenix, Arizona area. The house belonged to a 55-year-old woman named Jeannie, a wealthy Phoenix socialite. The officers immediately found evidence of forced entry. So the police dog headed straight for the master bedroom, where they sadly found a female deceased in bed. And it turns out that it was Jeannie. She had been shot 5 times, point blank range. The police concluded that she was the victim of a contract hit. Her murder sent shockwaves through Phoenix. She was a well-known and well-loved widow whose life was a, quote, a Cinderella story, which ended in tragedy. At the time of her death, Jeannie was worth several $1,000,000, most of it inherited from her late husband, Ed. But her origins were humble. She was born in a small Arkansas family and married fresh out of high school back in 1953. Sadly, that marriage did end in divorce, and she eventually wound up in Phoenix working as a cocktail waitress at a hotel. I looked up, the hotel is no longer there. It's like the Stardust Lounge or so. It was like very like retro-y sounding, but it's no longer there. She had no intentions, though, of spending her life waiting tables. So, on her breaks in between services, she studied real estate law, determined to make her life better. She was able to get a real estate license. She seemed like she was working in more high end luxury real estate because several years later, 1971, one of her clients, and according to Unsolved Mysteries, at least the reenactment, they're almost like at this like social party gathering sort of thing. But during this dinner, she is introduced to Ed. He happens to be a charming, wealthy divorcee. He had all the qualities that she was looking for in a man. He embarked on an intense courtship with Jeannie. His ancestors had actually made millions of dollars in the cattle business and were among the founding fathers of Phoenix. But he
That
had made
is,
his own name as a pilot in World War II.
this guy's a hero, man.
Yeah, he was shot down and taken as a prisoner of war, which
Dude,
we've talked about some of
holy
those stories
smokes,
before.
that's
In World
tough.
War II, that's crazy bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you guys, on top of that, he was one of the main developers and helping engineer the famous Great Escape digging tunnels.
I forgot about this part.
Yes.
It is wild.
That is
This
wild.
guy is a
Which
stud.
allowed 79 POWs to escape and become free. So, less than a year after they meet, Ed and Jeannie are married in a private ceremony in Hawaii. And she's an instant hit in the Phoenix upper crust. And according to her sister Sandra, she treated people the way she wanted to be treated. Ed and Jeannie often entertained guests and had friends visit their house. They had a good marriage. Both of them enjoyed doing a lot of the same hobbies. But there was one kind of dark cloud on the horizon that Jeannie and Ed were both aware of. Ed had sustained some major respiratory problems ever since his POW days back in 1982. And several years into their marriage, he basically became bedridden. And Jeannie stuck around and she nursed him around the clock and was very attentive to him.
And they've been married a while, like 10 years
Yeah.
or something?
So he wanted her, according to Unsolved Mysteries, to have their house and be comfortable financially. He also warned her that, and I found this again on my side research, there was some information that he had warned her that he and his children had been in a kind of a tumultuous relationship because they did not like who he had remarried. And that he had encouraged them to be civil. However, there was not a harmonious Brady Bunch sort of theme going on here. So, according to her sister, she was not a greedy person and she did not believe that everything Ed had was automatically hers. She did not appear to have this sense of entitlement, according to her sister. So, July 11th, 1983, Ed passes away. And he leaves Jeannie an estate worth millions and millions of dollars, including the house, a valuable art collection. He leaves his children each about $200,000, but they were allowed to be paid that in $1,500 increments a month. And I looked it up. At that time, it was like 30 something $100, like, or 3,000 something $100. Like,
it's early 80s.
Early
so it's
80s.
over 3 times that in this day and age.
Yeah. So, okay, like 4,200, maybe that's what it was. I looked it up when I was doing this research before my parents came to town.
That's got to be our day. Yeah, that's over 4,500.
It was a chunk of change by normal people's standards. But I think if you're a multimillionaire, $4,200 a month is probably pennies.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is a recipe for
At least
disaster.
it appears to be a recipe for
it turns out to be
disaster.
a recipe for disaster. Okay. So Jeannie decides after a period of mourning, she is going to throw herself back into the life that she loves.
It was weird how they said it.
Mm-hmm.
They say that she mourned and that then she threw herself into the upper crust.
Period of mourning is.
No, we don't.
Mm-mm.
But here's the thing. She was married to the guy for 10 years. It's not like she was married for a year.
He passes away in 1983 and she passes away in 1988.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying they married like in the they were married for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
It was weird how they said it.
Yeah.
And that she threw herself to the point he said she was throwing parties. I mean, the night she died, she was filling out invitations to a party.
So, and there's some more information I actually found out about that party. So she throws herself back into the parties of Phoenix. And her friend Danny comes back on and says that this is, according to him, the way that she learned to get over the loss and meet new people. And she, once again, becomes even more of a big socialite. She is in charge of many balls, which I didn't even know that was still a thing. I'd love to be invited to a ball sometime.
Who has a ball nowadays?
I don't know.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. I'm not in any upper crust society. If someone would like to reach down and pull me up into the upper crust, I'm here for it. So she attends balls with her and her friends, and this kind of becomes like the way of just doing. This lady's just partying, basically. And on the evening of March 31st, 1988, she phones her sister Sandra. And Jeannie's excited. She is planning to fly to Las Vegas the next day to see her old friend turned boyfriend. This was not in Unsolved Mysteries.
I was going to say that's
his name was Ed. And he is married.
What?
Yes. So Jeannie prepares invitations for a party at her home that was scheduled for April 15th. Although her new boyfriend, Ed, was currently married. And I even found out that the morning that she went missing, or that was found dead in her apartment or her house, him and his wife had started attending marriage counseling together. But Jeannie was telling several friends that they were announcing their engagement at their April 15th party at her house. She was supposed to fly into Vegas that day, and that morning he was at marriage counseling with his wife.
That's awkward. So he was going to leave marriage counseling and go pick up his girlfriend. Yes.
Who was going to be in town for like 2 weeks. Yeah. That was not an Unsolved Mysteries. I just think humans are more complicated than just like this woman was so like, there was I guess I want to say because there is some speculation, and I believe that they got the right person, but there is other questions that the police missed out on investigating other things because they didn't tell a lot of the story.
But the police were they interviewed?
Yeah.
But also at this time, it was still an open case. Mm-hmm. So you only can say so much.
Yeah. So she sends out their invitations that night, like literally drops them in the mail, is talking to her sister. And by 1 a.m. the next day, she would be dead. So it's so weird because she mailed some of the invitations. And so even after she passed away, people started getting invitations to her house party that she was having.
That would be creepy.
That is creepy, yeah. So at the murder scene, police find several fingerprints, but little other physical evidence. Jeannie's purse, along with her ID and credit cards, are missing. Her cards were never found or used. The fingerprints were compared to every potential suspect mentioned by the police, and they were also run through a computer database system. However, that turns up nothing. Detectives believe that Jeannie was the victim of a hit and that she was killed intentionally by somebody. They theorized that the killer was familiar with the neighborhood because he'd easily gained access to her house. And it was creepy. The reenactment, the guy's wearing like gloves, black like gloves and a full-on ski mask and long sleeves and long pants.
I did. Yeah, it was. When I watched it, because I watched this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. We said that together.
The similarities between just like some of this and the Nancy Guthrie case, like they're obviously not at all connected in any way, shape, or form, but it just
was weird. It's a story
yes.
here.
Yes.
But I will say, I saw the same thing.
Well, and because she lived in this like exclusive neighborhood with very wealthy people, and they were like, you would have had to know the terrain of the house. And I remember even saying that about the Nancy Guthrie. Like, and I will say, a lot of Tucson, we have this no light ordinance here. So you can't see. My parents got lost coming to my house, and we've lived here for like 8 years. It
is very dark out here. We don't really have street lights.
We don't have street lights, so you can't see street names. So you have to
know where you're going.
Know where you're going.
I would say when I saw the guy, the way he was dressed.
The way he was dressed was
you were like, holy smokes, that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Okay. So they believe he obviously had to have some knowledge of the house because he was able to enter through the kitchen window, which was found sitting on a patio chair. But it was done in a manner to not set off the alarm. And the whole house, this is a brave, bold choice, had white carpeting. Clearly,
but
children and grandchildren were not allowed.
It was the 80s.
Children and grandchildren were not allowed into this house.
It was the 80s.
White carpet is wild.
Do you know what we had growing up when I was a kid?
Oh, I bet I'd be able to beat you. Because if you say what I say as mine, I'm going to freak out. What did you have?
Green.
We had shed carpets.
Yeah.
How have you and I never...
I don't remember it because I was young.
Oh my goodness.
Green shag carpet.
We had green shag carpet too. It appears that because of the white carpet and that it was like a longer, thicker, lusher carpet, they were able to tell that he walked straight from the kitchen to the primary bedroom. So he knew where he was going. The spot where she lay to sleep, there was no signs of struggle. So they believed that the killer then, after shooting her, scattered some costume jewelry to make the appearance of a burglary attempt, left thousands of dollars worth of real jewelry untouched in the next room. It also seemed that Jenny's killer wanted someone to be alerted because in a weird move, he set the alarm off on his way out by opening the sliding glass door and leaving it open upon leaving. He could have gone out the same way he came without setting off the alarm, but police theorized that it's possible that he would want people to know that the job had been done. So, confirming that the hit had been completed. But who have wanted Jeannie dead? Police are at a loss until they were given the old tapes from her answer machine. And that's when they heard the voice of a mysterious man who called himself Gordon Phillips. In 1987, he claimed to be a writer from the magazine Time and tried to interview Jeannie about Ed's POW experience. He claimed that he wanted to write a book about POWs. He asked her about Ed's POW days, and she said that he actually didn't really talk about it that much, and she actually suggested that he talk to his first wife. When he continued to ask her questions, she could see, and she did ask to see his Time magazine ID. He claimed that he was a freelance writer and was not on staff, and at that point, she cut the interview short. Jeannie had Philip checked out. Time magazine had actually never heard of him. When he tried to contact her again, she'd made it clear that she was the wrong person to contact and she wasn't interested. Despite this, he continued to hound her by phone. If she was not home, he would leave her messages on her answer machine. And she even theorized to some of her friends that he had been following her and she would see him amongst crowds. And when she was out shopping, she had told her sister that she had become extremely nervous and uncomfortable about him. Police, though, here's the problem, have no idea who Phillips is, where he's gone, whether he's involved. And Sandra, the sister, fears that she will never know who killed her sister and why. At this moment, Philip is the only lead authorities have, even though police acknowledge that he may have nothing to do with this. They're hoping to talk with him and shed some new light on this puzzling case. And we get a police sketch and we hear the tapes from Unsolved Mysteries that we're recording from the answer machine. And that's kind of where Unsolved Mystery leaves us. All right, update. Solved, but unresolved. So after a 7-year investigation, the man who called himself Gordon Phillips was identified. His real name was James Harold. His fingerprints were obtained, and they were a match to those found on, quote, on number 1, the kitchen countertop inside Jeannie's home, and
which was right below
and on the kitchen window that had been like removed from the thing.
The entry point.
Yes. Additional prints had been found on the outside gate of the home that were also matched to him, as well as a palm print found on the weathering strip removed from the window. Okay.
Good police work.
I want all of that said because I understand that people that are convicted of things have friends and family members. And his sister is on a crusade on social media and every messaging board that her brother was wrongfully convicted.
Okay.
She claims to have thousands of pages of documents that the police refused to look into. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But the fingerprints are pretty...
All we're saying is that the police said they match fingerprints.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying.
That's all I'm saying. And this is just what I could find that is... This information that I have is not from Reddit or anything. This is like actual how
this is just the facts that's put out there.
Mm-hmm. So Harold was found guilty of first-degree murder because it was a contract killing. He was sentenced to death. However, the person who hired him to murder Jeannie is still a mystery. So that's why it's unresolved.
Okay. So they did have made, the police have said this was a contract killing.
The police believe 100% this was a contract hit.
But Phillips, what's his name? His original name?
Last name is Harold.
Harold.
Yeah, Cornell Harold.
He's never, I guess, well, he's saying he's innocent. So he's not saying who hired him.
Yeah, so if he claims he's innocent, then he can't.
Then he can't say who hired him.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
In January 1994, an anonymous caller called the police and identified the voice as 44-year-old James Cornell Butch Harold. He had been questioned shortly after Jeannie's murder. Was discovered that he had made over 1,000 phone calls between him and Ed's son. So this is where we start to see between the two made over 1,000 phone calls in the months prior to her murder, and including multiple of them made on the day prior to the murder. So in 1994, later in the year, Harold's ex-wife Annie came forward to tell the police that he had confessed to the facilitated murder for Hap. So we've got the ex-wife saying that the son and him had planned it and that he had been hired. So
someone's pointing the finger at the son of this man.
Yes.
That he's upset about his inheritance.
Yes.
And that he wanted the stepmom gone.
That was the thing. If if Jeannie is dead, they inherit the money, the 3 kids. Jeannie's daughter inherited just over $2 million, but that was based on a private life insurance policy.
Oh.
Because she was also investigated. Harold's ex-wife comes to police and says that according to her ex-husband, he had been hired by Hap to do the murder. And that he had planned to pose as Philip, the Time magazine writer, so that he could get into the house and get a better look at the layout. He also told her that he had hired 2 additional men named Tommy and Michael to help him commit the murder. Also, he told her that he was paid $100,000 to do so. Records indicate that Hap actually paid him $25,000. Tommy and Michael suddenly also had large sums of money after Jeannie's murder and made several large purchases. Annie also told police that when Harold left the night before Jeannie's murder, she asked him, "Are you going to do this now?" And he said, "Yes, I'm leaving." When he returned the next morning, he said, "It's done." Then called Hap apparently to tell him that it had occurred. He apparently kept Jeannie's jewelry and credit cards in their house for some time before burying them out in the desert. Police matched the fingerprints found at the scene to Harold. Some of his prints were found on multiple places. We've already gone over that. And in September of 1995, after a 7-year investigation, everything is kind of wrapped up. He's charged with burglary and Jeannie's murder. And then in 1997, he was tried and convicted of first-degree murder. And in May of 1998, he was sentenced to death. And in 2005, he was resentenced to death. So this has been looked at multiple times. There's multiple layers of evidence.
According to the courts, he's been convicted.
Yeah.
Has he been put to death?
I believe he passed away in prison just not too long ago. So.
But not from lethal injection, from just natural causes.
Yeah. Okay. So although prosecutors claim at trial that Hap had hired Harold to commit Jeannie's murder, he never named him at trial. In fact, he continued to maintain his innocence. He claimed that the money he received from Hap was regarding some sort of mining contract in China. He also claimed that the phone calls related to the same
contract in China.
In China? Okay. Yeah. And he also claimed that the reason he couldn't have murdered her because he was out buying cocaine on the night of the murder.
That's it. That's a solid alibi.
So he also claimed that the real killer planted his fingerprints at the scene using a prosthetic fingerprint glove. You guys, I can't make this stuff up. So I'm just telling you guys all of this stuff because I'm really concerned that his sister's going to come for me. And she can if she wants to. I'm just all I do is recap the episode of Unsolved Mysteries and share with you what the updates are based on this. If the police got it wrong and there was a prosthetic fingerprint glove used,
let me just put this out there for the people. I'm not on social media at all. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Sierra runs all of our social media. Unfortunately, there's been a couple times where some family members have come after us for what we've recapped on here. And so that's why at times, that's why there's this caveat.
Over-explain that, like.
We need to and here's the thing. We are stating what is out there.
Yes. This is not a
ma'am, if you're upset,
multiple segment episode.
I'm not even saying anything. I'm just saying the court's convicted you.
I recap the episode and I give you the updates. I do hours of research on this.
This is just the update.
Yeah,
we're not even saying.
I've had some family members come after me and it breaks my heart because I actually really try to empathize with victim family members.
Absolutely.
And if I get something wrong, I'm totally willing to own it. But when you call me names and tell me that I'm ignorant and stupid, and I lost so much sleep over one story in particular, and I went back and all of the things that this woman said to me.
All we did was say what Unsolved Mysteries said.
Yeah. Everything that I had quoted and stated was actually just directly from.
It wasn't even personal opinions.
No, it was all stuff from Unsolved Mysteries.
And we gave personal opinions on our last story.
Everything was all from Unsolved Mysteries. And she claims how.
It was off.
Yeah. Everything was so. And not even just hey, you got this wrong. Can you please correct it? Called me names and everything.
We gave personal opinions on my story.
Yeah.
But I don't feel, here's the thing, you were technically convicted by a court of law. So under U.S. law, you are a convicted murderer.
Yeah. And you know what? I will say this. If his sister thinks he was wrongfully convicted and that someone used a prosthetic fingerprint glove, start a podcast. There's some great ones about wrongful convictions. Reach out. I mean, he's passed away now. So yeah, on January 28th, 2019, he passed away and he was only 65 years old. Natural causes in prison.
That's young.
It is young, yeah. So police still suspect that Hap and possibly even his siblings, because from my understanding, the sisters even had a worse reputation of being like just unhinged, were involved in Jeannie's murder. They didn't get along with her. They did not like her. They were not happy about the estate. And police believe that they may have hired Harold because she received the majority of quote unquote their money.
I will say, I did a tiny bit of research on this. It did appear, if I can't remember the numbers, but she got left, what was her name, Jeannie? Mm-hmm. She got left millions of dollars. And within 5 years, she blew a ton of it.
You're hosting balls. I don't know. I've never hosted balls.
Like she blew like $4 million. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong on that number. Don't quote me on that. Don't hold me to it.
Yep.
I'm not saying that number is concrete.
Yeah.
But it appeared
they claimed that she squandered their inheritance.
She blew a lot of money.
It's her money. I mean, I guess like go for it. But again, this is what I'm saying. I feel like Ed put her in a predicament. But at the same time, if you're also willing to hire a hitman to murder your ex, your deceased father's late wife, you are also part of the problem. You sound like a spoiled brat who's throwing a temper tantrum that cost a woman her life. I don't know if any amount of money would have made them happy.
It's a sad story.
It's a terrible story. And I just think the human element of is that Jeannie, I will say, they were close in age. She did not appear by what I would say a classic gold digger is. She was working as a real estate agent and was very successful and made each other very happy and had a lot of hobbies together and spent several good years together. Was she always perfect? No. It seemed like she did not get along with everybody and ruffled some feathers and had a few enemies and maybe was pre-engaged to a married man at some point. But with that said, every human being has multiple layers. Life is complicated, but it sounds as if Ed's 3 children were spoiled brats who could not stand it, took advantage of someone far below their station, offered to pay him $100,000, then only paid him $25,000, and then left him hanging out to dry.
At least that's the rumors going out and about.
That's
unfortunately,
police.
no
Even
one
according
else.
To the law enforcement, this is their theory.
And unfortunately,
and there is even
no
more
one's
rumors and speculation that the reason Hap and his sisters didn't actually get in trouble was because of their money and their connections within the Phoenix, like DA's office and stuff like that.
Well, and the guy that was convicted never squealed.
Well, because he said he was innocent.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He's confessing his innocence, and so he never pointed the finger.
People were willing to murder this woman. What would they have done to him if he would have said something? They were powerfully connected.
Sad story. Yeah. I mean, but at least, supposedly the murderer, according to the courts, was
Hap and his siblings, I will say, were never charged. This is the police's theory, but no one ever brought evidence against them. And Hap has since passed away. I believe the 2 sisters are still alive. I believe that her only child, her daughter, Jeannie's daughter, is still alive. She did, like I said, profit from this, but only just due to a life insurance. The trust went to his children after, so they ended up getting their way.
They got their money.
Yeah.
After she blew a bunch of it.
All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. This was a rough one with this crazy with only 3 stories, but like I said, I've been sick now for 2 days.
We got off track a lot.
I know. And I feel like that commercial, I don't know, whatever cold and flu commercial was where the guy was holding his head was a balloon.
That's how you feel?
That's how I feel. I just feel very disconnected from the rest of my body and my eyes feel like they're going to fall out of my head. Okay. So that is our episode. And that is our recap of what I believe is season 4, episode 14. Just heads up, next week we will actually have a guest speaker, a guest host. It's going to be my dad, Will. And I think I say in there something like, Ben's okay because he
I'm fine.
Yeah. I don't remember what I said, but I said something
it doesn't matter if you listen this week.
Something would have had to be wrong for Ben to miss an episode. And what I meant to say was, yes, but something would have to be wrong for me to find a substitute. But I thought it would be fun to pull my dad in here because he doesn't listen to anything like this and doesn't really even understand a lot of technology around this stuff. So I wanted to bring him in. So yeah, Ben's okay. He's here. He's fine. He'll be back the week after. But over the next few months, I'm planning on having a few guest speakers in here just to mix things up a little bit and have some fun. Ben's getting too many 5-star reviews, so I needed to humble his horses a little bit.
I need humbling. Trust me.
Okay. Well, everybody, if you don't want to hang around for our chitty chat time, because there's been a lot of it already, please feel free to exit stage right. And for the rest of you guys, let's talk about it, Ben, real quick. You and I just the other night, maybe like 2 weeks ago, we're sitting and talking about the Nancy Guthrie. And we kind of just were like, what if this was the start of something that could be a repeat? I don't want to say serial attacker quite yet.
Yeah, let's not throw the let's not get people worried.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
That. But yeah, no, I was super.
But as we've gotten farther away from like, clearly now we're 40 plus days into this, right? So now you have to start looking at the fringe
theories.
We're like
45 days
into
this.
You got to start looking at the non-Occam's razor sort of ideas.
I will say, Occam's razor, I don't think is applying here.
No, Occam's razor would technically be, and this is just me stating based on historically what we know about these things.
We're not pointing the fingers at anybody, people.
Historically, acts against older people are usually committed by people very close to them in their personal life. And that includes family and caregivers and like very close
and that's not interpersonal what we're saying.
Relationships. That's not what I'm saying. I am not making accusation. However, now that we are 45 days out, you have to start wondering, okay, what are the other 5% scenarios?
I would say like 1%. 2%.
And I said to Ben, because I listened to this great podcast about BTK.
I don't even know
you don't know who that is. It's the bind, torture, kill serial killer.
I have no idea what that is. Never heard of it.
He talked about, he gave an interview. He's actually given several interviews to FBI and stuff like that and been really integral and part of the development of criminology and stuff like that. But he shared some stuff and he talked a lot about that the planning and the stalking and like the perfection of like executing this act out and everything like that was all part of the fantasy, right? And that could last for weeks, if not months, in like planning everything out perfectly before you actually like go to the house to commit the crime. And I said something along the line like, wouldn't it be, just because we live in Tucson, wouldn't it be really scary to think about that there's someone out there who stalked and watched and waited and like planned and executed this, and clearly up until now, someone has gotten away with something. There's literally, as far as we know as the public, nothing to really go on major.
Yeah, I will say, so we did it. We did an episode on this.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So, and it was after the video was released, correct?
It was the morning that the video was released.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been several weeks.
The video is creepy.
It is
I already
very
stated
creepy.
that.
Yeah.
And now that this goes on longer, it is more creepy because it appears that Occam's razor does not apply, as I already said. We don't know who this is. They come in my opinion, seeing the video, this guy came prepared. He even came prepared to be possibly caught on camera.
Yeah.
Hence why he's wearing head to toe coverage.
Coverage, yeah.
Jacket, obviously pants, ski mask.
Yeah.
Gloves.
And to me, it even looks like he's wearing multiple layers of even gloves. Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
He sees the camera. Yeah, he puts his fist up to it, but as you can see, He's not that concerned that he understands that he's still going to be caught on camera.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem too fathom. He wants to eliminate as much camera as possible.
Yeah.
Again, I'm making speculations, but at the end of the day, he still knows he got caught on camera.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he was prepared for that.
Yeah. It's very
Which
scary.
is creepy.
Yeah. And so, but that's what kind of we were talking about. Like, what if this was part of...
He comes to the door and says like, okay, I got to take care of this camera. Then I'm going to take care of the door, the entry.
Yeah.
Which is creepy.
Yeah.
And we have no idea what happened afterwards.
I can tell you, now again, this is just based on what I've seen, because nothing's been obviously shared or reported. From the videos and footage of outside the home, because a lot of homes here in Tucson have these really cool, like beautiful metal security doors.
Yeah.
It's something I will say I didn't really see a lot of when we've lived other places, but it is a big thing here. You have 2 layers of doors. You've got these metal doors, and then you have a secondary wooden door typically. The door does not appear to be damaged or broken or kicked in or...
Yeah, I have no idea how he entered.
Yes, we don't know. But so you and I were talking.
So then that raises a question: How did
he get in? We don't know. But you and I were talking when I was listening to the BTK podcast. The lady doing the podcast was a news anchor at the time, so she's sharing it from her point of view as reporting the news, and that obviously when the first 1 or 2 of these incidents take place, you assume that this is a one-off, that this is a happenstance sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's an ex-boyfriend, it's this, it's that, it's the other, whatever. This is a break-in, a burglary gone wrong. All of the things that we've already probably speculated with Nancy Guthrie. But after several weeks, or even I think with BTK several months, and I think it was like attack 3 or 4, and him sending letters to the news claiming to like be responsible for all of these. He had to like tell the police, like send his trophies in that he was responsible for these multiple attacks because he wanted the attention, right? And I said, it's really scary to think about that we could be witnessing something that could turn into a bigger event, a serial event. And until sadly, something else happens,
I guess the question...
we can't connect that. And so just this last week, I will say, I think the FBI has taken over. So I don't know, but Pima County did come out and say, from what they've studied or what they know, they do believe Nancy Guthrie was targeted. They didn't say why. They didn't say because her daughter was so-and-so or because based on this. And is it possible she was targeted because she was an older single woman living at home? Yeah, that makes her very vulnerable. But that it is possible that the perpetrator could strike again and was just making the public aware to just be aware of your surroundings. Take note of things.
I'm going to throw this out there, and it's whatever. Take it as what you want. Maybe this is a one-off, and it's the only one. Mm-hmm. This could have already happened again.
Yeah,
and this is correct. Why I've got some friends, good friends that are TPD, Tucson Police. And I was talking to them. I was in my EMT research course with a couple of them, a couple guys. And they're telling stories. And I'm like, what? Of just like crimes, like just crazy things that happen in the city. Yeah. We live in a big city. And I'm like,
Tucson per capita, our per capita violence like is actually quite alarming.
They're just saying like they had this guy, whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, what? I haven't even heard of this. One, because I don't have cable news, so I don't watch the regular news. So that's my fault. But also, I haven't heard of it because I'm not seeing it while I scroll. The point is, my point of why I'm making that is, we heard about this because of who this lady is. This isn't me knocking it, but there could be someone that something bad has happened that the police themselves are investigating and we haven't heard because it's not making headline news. Especially for me, someone that pretty much just reads national news. I'm not really deep into Tucson news. Unless it's making a headline, we don't know.
Well, and that's
a scary
that's what
thought.
you and I were kind of talking about is could it, and again, this is all hypothetical. If, let's say, Nancy Guthrie's case turns out to be something more of a serial crime, she might not have been the first.
Yeah.
And that's in BTK's first case that he talked about, he actually failed at. Or no, it wasn't his first one. His first one, their 2 kids left for school and came back and found the family had been murdered, which is terrible. I want to say the second one, it was a woman living alone and her brother had come over to visit. And he like intercepted. The brother his life ended up being taken and she got away. Like things went wrong. And so they were hard to connect because not every one of them went off without a hitch.
Because it didn't go the same.
Exactly. It wasn't the same MO. Then it was like, then he started, sometime he targeted the neighbor down next door who was an older woman living at home because she was an easy target. Like, and then it would shift to college students. Like it was all over the map. So it was hard to connect the dots.
That's what I'm saying is there could be things happening.
Mm-hmm. There could have been home invasions. There could have been peeping Toms. There could have been all kinds of things. Yeah.
I mean, I drive through on I-10.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah. There's big billboards. Do you know how many times I see silver alert?
Yeah.
Which in here means an older person missing.
Yeah.
And obviously, like we have a large retirement population.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's some with mental illness, dementia, Alzheimer's, and they go missing. So they put these things out and they say, look out. Mm-hmm. They don't usually put their names, but they put like a description and a vehicle description.
Yeah, even at the time Nancy Guthrie went missing, an older man up in Marana had gone missing.
So what I'm saying is, and you know what? We never hear the resolve of that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how any of those starts. I see them.
Yeah.
I take note.
Yeah.
But 3 days later, I forgot all about it. I have no idea how it was resolved.
Yeah.
We have an entire city full of elderly people, Green Valley.
Yeah. You have to be 55 and over.
To pretty much live in that city.
To buy a home and to reside.
I have no idea what happens in that city.
Even if you visit there, if your grandkids come and visit, they're not allowed to stay for longer than 2 weeks.
So we have no clue.
Yeah.
Scary thought?
It is a scary thought. But this is obviously just speculation and kind of casual conversation, just because this case kind of reminded me, obviously very loosely, just felt a little eerie, but also that's been kind of, we haven't really heard anything new. I mean, the video coming out of this suspect was kind of the last big thing, but I was kind of surprised to see that was just put out this last week, because we're recording on a Monday. And it was just, and when I saw that.
We're recording March 16th.
Yeah. And I saw that, and I even posted it on our social media. And I was like, guys, like, this is what, because I made a reel about like having this like intrusive thought of you and I talking about this, and this like, what if this is actually something? Because it's terrifying to think about, especially just as a woman who is sometimes home alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll say this too. It's a scary thought too. Like I've said, I use this analogy only because it's the only true crime case I ever followed was the Idaho 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's speculation that he had actually had walked through that house before too.
When police talked, I said this before, it was clear they had an idea and they were on to something. Our sheriff, Nanos, talks a lot. He runs his mouth, sometimes more than he should. I read an interview the other day, and I read an article about this same thing that you're talking about. From what he's saying, it appears they have no clue. They don't have any suspects. They're not on to anything.
I know, that's terrifying. So do you think he was saying that just as like I want to CYA?
I don't know. I don't know why Nanos does
Because
half
it's
of what he
creepy
does.
that he said that.
I agree.
Because once again, as a female who is at home alone sometimes, or in public alone, or in my minivan alone.
But I think they're putting it out there.
That freaks me out.
And you're probably right. Probably CYA, because if it does happen again, at least they said, hey, we warned the public.
Yeah.
We tried to warn the public. But it also says to me, you have no idea. Mm-hmm. You don't have anything. I think they're trying to do everything they can.
Yeah.
I do believe they're trying to do all they can.
No,
But unfortunately, it appears that this guy, I don't want to say it, but it kind of appears he didn't leave much.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Which is terrifying in the day and age.
Yeah.
Because I haven't even heard them say, because most people don't go anywhere without their cell phones now. And the Delphi murder, and there was actually another man convicted actually of breaking and entering into an older woman's home who ended up actually being caught based on like a cell phone data pool. So they can like basically take a screenshot of like how many cell phones were active during this time. And at 1 or 2 in the morning, it's not a ton.
Yeah.
I haven't even heard that they've even attempted that.
I'm sure they have, but it appears it hasn't led to a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the way Nanos talked, I'm just kind of like, oh, you don't really have anything.
Yeah.
You're not on the trail.
But I know
of
that
anything.
I will say, even
and I could be wrong.
2-ish weeks ago, I went out to dinner with a bunch of my girlfriends up in that side of town, the north side of town, the foothills. And it's right by the like roller coaster road. Coaster Road? I can't remember what it is, but it's up the east side. And I went and got a tattoo. And I was sitting there talking to the whole tattoo parlor. And they said that even the police had been by, and it's just like in a strip mall, right? Had been by there to see if they had any sort of surveillance video out towards the road or parking lot or anything. And they're like, no, man, like we have it on our front doors.
I do believe police are doing everything they can. They're running every lead they can.
Yeah.
Which then is just scary because it appears this guy didn't leave much.
I didn't think, by the way he was dressed and how calm he was, I don't know what was in that backpack either, but that man seemed like he knew what he was doing or what he was there to attempt to do and had a plan.
Which then raises a question. This probably wasn't his first time.
Exactly.
I'm making an assumption there.
And that's the other thing, too, about people like this is they tend to escalate. It starts with something smaller, and it escalates.
Well, for our own benefit, I hope not. And I hope he's caught soon.
I hope that this was sadly it is. I hope she's found. And it turns out that it was just Occam's razor, and she's been living well, taken care of in a basement somewhere, hoping for...
Yeah, I hope they find Nancy Guthrie alive.
And she just is dropped off at the local hospital and everything is fine. That would make me so, so happy. It's just a reminder out there, be aware of your surroundings, be off your phone, pay attention.
Oh, look,
even this lady,
be on the lookout.
Even this lady said that she kept seeing this guy places.
Yeah, that's scary. Yeah, that's too bad.
It is too bad. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us for over an hour and a half, close to 2 hours tonight.
No way. We got to cut some of this out.
By we, you mean me, right?
Yeah, you. Yeah. You do the editing.
I'm going to do the editing. Now I have to go back and listen to almost 2 hours of us jibber jabber and cut this.
Or just leave it, bro.
Bruh. All right, guys. Well, Will and I will be back next week to recap another episode of...
You're welcome. Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.